Greetings again, gamers and geeks. Welcome to I'm going to call this episode 2.5 of our Cisco medieval RPG Let's Play. Although this isn't really going to be part of the Let's Play, this is more of a Let's Build, and that's probably what I'll call it. You know, behind me you can see the little ruin that has been our shelter, what I've temporarily named Fort Netflix because of the banner we found in a dungeon back in episode 1. Now, this ruin has served us well enough, but I said in episode 1, and I started working on in episode 2, that I was going to turn this into a mighty castle. And so today, I want to take you through the process of designing that castle. So we're going to jump over to a creative world, and I'm going to kind of talk you through my process. So let's do it. All right, so we're here in a creative world on mod. This is what I use for like creating my thumbnails and stuff. And today, this is where we're going to design where we're going to workshop designs for our castle. As you can see, I've gone through the trouble of finding same structure that we are currently living in. Obviously, this one is a little bit in a worse shape of disrepair than the one that we have on our world. In fact, yeah, it's in much worse shape, but it's undeniably the same footprint. And in fact, just up here, we can see this is apparently what the structure is supposed to look like when it's complete. Like, aside from a couple of holes in the wall, this one is entirely intact. And I think those holes in the wall are intentional windows. So never mind, this is just 100% intact. We're not building this, though. This is what would have generated if it weren't a crumbling ruin. We ain't building this. So, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to raise all these walls to the level we have them in our world. I'm going to replace the floors with... I'm going to replace this floor with spruce plank slabs, and well, we'll see how that works out to start. Alright, so as you can see, I have gone ahead and filled in all these walls, and I have built up the frames, and I did go ahead and replace the floor there with slabs. I think I want to move this out, have this be cobble. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Cool. So, my plan here... Yeah, the next step is going to be putting in the spiral staircase that we have in the actual in the main world. And I believe I have it winding so that I think it comes to there. There we go. So that way it comes up. Got this here, and then we're actually going to go ahead and continue this up because I do plan on adding another floor. I think I should fill in this wall. So, I actually did go ahead and sketch out some plans for what I want this place to look like. I'll go ahead and put those on screen now, my sketches. But the gist of it is I want to build up this into a small tower. This corner also small tower, and then this corner with the staircase I want to make a slightly taller tower with like a roof, like a proper watchtower. And then I'll put battlements along the entire top edge. This I'm gonna have just like a slanted roof over, and then I want to extend it out into like a little outbuilding here, which will eventually become a stable if we need to keep horses or something similar, maybe a small animal pen. I don't know. Point is, we'll have a little covered area just outside, just out front of our base, which I think will be very useful. So now that I've got this more or less in the shape that I have it in our current world, I think I'll just let you guys come along with me as I work through this. So, first of all, we need to decide the height for our towers. And for that, I'm thinking we essentially raise this up one more, like, section. Like, essentially one more floor. But just in the corners. So, as we build this up, now keep in mind, this is a creative process, so while I have some sketches to go off of, I don't really have a plan. That's all this is creating the specific plan, so I am fully improvising this on the go. I have no idea if this is what I'm going to go for, although I suppose you do, because if I decide to go another direction, I will probably cut this out, and I'll be showcasing what that direction is going to be. Alright, so I've got 2 towers rising up here. I am going to extend this frame along the entire thing, cutting across this tower here. And then let's see. Based on kind of the frame I'm creating here, I think I want to like continue these across as just like decorative trusses, but they're not really gonna, or struts, not trusses. Which are gonna look structural when we put like the floor into this next level, but they aren't really gonna do much. At this point, I think we'll have a doorway here. Yeah, doorway here. And I will build up this frame all the way around. So we're going to extend this tower up a little ways as well. But on this one, well, we'll figure out just how tall we want it here in a little bit. Okay, now for these towers. I'm thinking we need proper battlement. You know what? First of all, let's work on shape, right? Because obviously this is very square right now. We need something, I think, just to break it up a little bit. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put these extra kind of beams up the side of basically all of these like corners and sides. Now, I'm just going to cover this up because this little staircase is not there on the main world. That is just the way it generated on this world, which obviously we're in a completely different biome. It's not the same seed. I don't actually have the world seed for the main world. It's well, it's not my world. Mata is the host for the world, so I suppose I could probably try to get the world seed from him, but honestly, since I was able to find the structure, I don't really need it. So now let's go ahead and grab. I'm going to need some stone brick slabs and probably staircases as well. So staircases are going to top all of these. And so this just helps give like a little bit of structure, a little bit of support, and just a little bit of shape too, just to break up the super flat walls, basically. So obviously that only does so much. Obviously, this whole thing is very, very flat right now. But we're going to change that here in a bit. Another thing, this was a detail that I actually did include on I did actually include this detail on the main world, which was that little area between the beams here. I used vertical slabs to create a little indentation because vertical slabs are part of this mod. Now, I may change this one depending on what we do with this roof segment. I'm not entirely sure yet how this is going to look. I'll probably change that as well. But we'll get to this area later. That's probably going to be one of the last things I do. So, now that we've got that set up, we need to look at shape in here. So the first thing is these beams are really like thick, and especially since I want to do like maybe well, no, honestly, I think the full blocks are going to work really well because once I put in slab flooring all through here, I actually think that little bit of depth, I don't think they're going to be too much at all. I was going to try to add like maybe some little arches or something, like divots into the beams, but I actually don't think they need it here. What I may still do, though, is I may create like a little arch here, like something like that, just to give it, just to kind of alleviate some of those 90-degree angles as it like cuts across. And yeah, I actually think that looks really nice. We grab a couple of lanterns, probably, which should be just in here. There they are. yeah, I grab a couple of lanterns. Figure 2 just for symmetry, although I think I only need 1 to light this place up, because if right now the client light, 7 block, so this room is completely spawn proof with those 2 lanterns, so I probably only need 1 of them, like in the center or whatever, but this gives me that symmetry with the beams. Although, if I just do that, okay, yeah, that works. And that way I don't have 2 lanterns right next to each other that seemed a little weird. All right. So yeah. And I do plan on doing a full interior. I don't know if I'm going to do that in this video or if I'm going to make the interior design just part of the Let's Play series rather than its own separate video. I think I probably will, because the interior is just going to depend on function. Right now, I just want to practice the shape and general design. And I want to make this a little bit educational as well. So now as I bring this out, actually, I really don't need to bring those across like that to this level. But should I is the question. I think the answer is yes, I should. Though I may end up modifying some of the battlements that come on the inside, especially with some of the modifications I plan on making later. And now for here, instead of stairs, we're going to go full blocks, alternating with slabs. There we go. And that's going to kind of join the 2 towers. So they really are just one fat tower with a little window in between. But in any event, yeah, I think I can work with this. Now this right here, I am definitely going to add like fortifications here. But on this front edge, well, I do want to change this entryway. I want to do something just a little bit different, something that I had kind of showcased in my drawing. Firstly, I want to pull this entrance in just a little bit and make it a little bit less tall. Something more like that. And then I can use these handy dandy vertical slabs. Well, right here I should probably use full blocks. But then use these handy vertical slabs to create a nice thin wall that I think I can work with quite well. Yeah. I don't love that. I might swap this out with cobble, honestly, which is on the inside might look a little weird, but I don't think it's going to stand out nearly as much as stone brick would there. We'll add stone brick there, however. And then here I want to do something kind of reminiscent of what would be like wooden hoardings, essentially. Which hoardings, if you're not familiar with castle design, they are essentially often temporary, like wooden extensions on the outer wall of the castle that would provide like the ability to. Well, they'd provide everything that your typical battlements would. They would just be more temporary and they'd be cheaper because it's easier to put temporary wooden structures into place than it is to build permanent stone ones. So I think this will be what I need. And so the trick is trying to figure out how to make this kind of hoarding fit more or less seamlessly. And I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that in the drawing. As I refer back to my drawing, it looks like essentially I have this coming across here. These coming here. Bring those out. And at this point, I'd probably have logs here. Go fences there. And then let's see if I can get some like vertical spruce slabs maybe. There they are. Probably easier if I place temporary blocks here. Because if I get those slabs in place like so, and then I throw fences in here, yeah. I like the kind of pattern that it forms. It creates a nice looking effect from the outside, and also it provides some practical defense because I can go up here right next to this gap in the vertical slabs, and I can shoot down at anything outside of our gate. Like, for example, in episode 1 of the Let's Play, I fought like a zombie that was shooting fireballs right around the gate. So I could do that from here instead of, jumping over holes in the wall like I did in that episode. So now to connect that in properly, I think the battlements are going to cover this spot, so I don't need to extend that out here. I might just do that and then continue that in. Yeah. Something like that, which I know seems a little awkward. Now, I don't like how flat this is here, but I don't have to deal with that necessarily because I can put that there. And then maybe if I double up there. Yeah, that looks a little bit more substantial, I think. In fact, I might make those full blocks and then put the stairs there instead. Ooh, yes. No, I like that a lot better. Yeah, I think that'll do quite nicely. So they're both practical and I think aesthetically decently pleasing. Be a little awkward on this side for now, but I think they'll integrate nicely once we get the battlements up and running. So speaking of the battlements, so now I'm gonna need. I think we're gonna go with stone. Uh, yeah, I'm just gonna go with stone, maybe stone brick, vertical slabs. Um, I am definitely going to need some stone brick slabs, stone brick blocks, stone brick stairs. And I know this is a lot of stone brick right now. Um, and this is a very gray build. Now, obviously, that little bit of like the wooden hoarding helps, it gives some contrast. It's not enough though. And I have some ideas. And again, there's a lot of like flat walls, and yeah, we need some contrast, but we will get there all in good time. So um, to do the battlements. Now, normally the method I would use is I'd like dig a stair in, and then I'd like do like a stair out, and or not a stair out. I'd usually put like a wall there, a cobblestone wall. Um, yeah, I'd put a wall there, um, and that would serve like the same thing as what I was showing on the hoardings later. It's a feature known as matriculations, which is kind of a fun word. But because we have, I guess technically you could just do that like that. I was gonna say because we have the vertical slabs though, I don't necessarily need the wall there, and we can make them a little bit more flush like that. Now the question is that an improvement over the classic design or not? Because obviously I wanted to play around with vertical slabs. Um, See, the problem is it becomes very square. Now, if I did like the corner as well, right? And if I just yeah. So if I have this, question is, does that have enough shape? I mean, it is very square, undeniably so. It is very, very square. But is that okay? Because the alternative would be something like that. All right, you know what? I think I'm gonna keep the vertical slabs, but let's try stone instead, just to like break up the monotony a little bit. No, I don't like that either. So we're gonna stick with the stone brick vertical slabs. Um, and then we're just gonna have to do some extra work with shaping. Now, similar to what I did with the hoardings, I think I want to try to continue this down like that a little bit. Gives it just like a little bit more, I don't know, looks a little bit more rigid, I guess. Looks stronger. And then, yeah, let's continue that pattern all around here. And I am going to continue it here as well, even though that's not necessarily practical. Just because I think it would look awkward otherwise. All right. So now that that's done, I do actually like the way this looks, I think. Especially from the inside, I think this looks really nice. And if we, were to fill in the, the gap here. Yes, I think that works quite nicely. And you can see, I did kind of conjoin the towers. And, oh, interesting. Not quite as practical as I thought. So apparently, and I don't know if it's just because I'm small, because, I did choose the goblin origin, and I made sure to keep that consistent on this test world as well. So I don't know if Mata would fit through that gap or not, but I can't quite use those the way I intended as a direct result of that. So I think wall it is, but I think I am going to keep it stone brick, not cobblestone. Because that should still, now I can go right up against it. I don't fall through, and I still have the same angle for shooting. And it gives it just a little bit more depth from the outside. So I think that's all going to work out for the best. But I'm going to have to change the wooden hoardings as well. That is interesting. Okay, so good news. So I was able to get that all working out, and honestly, it looks great from the outside as well as the inside. So I do like that. But also, I don't have to change the wooden hoardings after all because the fence post has a slightly larger hitbox than the vertical slab. So even when I walk up right next to it, even as a little goblin guy, I do not fall through the gap. So that's very nice. So at least I don't have to change that. Now that I'm looking at this, though, like it is a lot of stone bricks. So I'm thinking, what if I used polish andesite to kind of break some of that up with this? Like not every single one, maybe not even every other one, maybe just like the corners. All right, so now that that's done, yes, I do think that that actually does work really well for this. Next, now that I've got the battlements set up there, I do want to do the same right about here because otherwise the hoardings look, well, unsupported on their own. Like they don't really have anything particular connecting them. So now they're a little bit less standalone. And yes, the wooden structure, it looks a little awkward and unbalanced right now because I don't have that tower there or the roof there. So I think once that's all together, I think it should look much more balanced. Not symmetrical, but balanced, which is just as important, if not more so. Okay, so I also went ahead and removed the vertical slabs under, like, any of the ones under the andesite, like any of the ones that would have been on a cobblestone face. I just wanted to kind of break off that line, and then I also added the battlements over here with their own matriculations, and here I did something just a little bit different because I put stairs on top of these outer ones instead of slabs because they connect into the posts, and in this case, it actually connects up into like a little arch or brace on the side of the wall, which I really liked. So, okay, I went ahead and shortened that big old obsidian pillar in the front because it was stopping me from getting a head-on look at the castle. So, yes, I think that this is very nice, but these walls are still very flat. That tower is still way too short, and we're really lacking anything there to give this build a sense of balance. So I think where I want to start is here with this section. And as I'm thinking about it, I definitely am going to remove this. And I think I'm going to bring this out to here. I'm going to connect this in here. I'm even going to run this up to here. And I'll mirror that on that side. And just to give that a little bit of shape, we'll do something like that. Yeah, like, although that does kind of defeat the purpose of these because I wouldn't be able to shoot down here. So let's actually remove that. And let's shorten these and put the stairs there so they look more like the supporting struts on the outside. And that doesn't obstruct the view there. Perfect. Yeah, that works great. I do think I'm going to go with the deep slate that was originally there, but I think I am going to go with the slabs. And I'm going to go for more of a shallow angle here. Now, does that make these battlements completely useless? Well, not necessarily. Obviously, this roof is a low point, and so if someone did try to, like, come at this place with a ladder, this would be an easy spot to get to. And so having this ability to repel an enemy on the roof could be very useful. However, it creates this awkward gap here. So I think I am just going to replace that with regular cobblestone. And there we go. Yeah, and as you can see, for the overall shape, I do feel like just having that adds quite a bit. However, I almost wonder about doing that and then slabbing over top to create like that raised effect. And then maybe extending this roof just out one block. Kind of like that little overhang there. And I might just do that. And I'll mirror that there. Yeah. I think I actually am going to vertical slab. Like I'm going to extend up all of these um, stairs just a little bit on these columns. Kind of blend them into the building a little bit, you know? Yeah, I do. I really like that. I think all that's left now is the tower, and then maybe some detail work on these walls to break up, because there's still a lot of just flat space, and while the shaders kind of provide some stripes, I guess, from shadows, if it weren't noon, it would look different, and it'd be very flat and very boring. So, some detail work and then some texturing, I think, will do very well. But first, the tower. All right, so I actually went ahead and went to go get some sleep. It is the next day now, and coming back, I think the first thing we need to work on is the height on this tower. So I'm actually not thinking I'm going to add a full panel. I'm going to add a partial panel. So you can see this section, the cobblestone's only 2 blocks tall instead of the 3. I think that gives us just about the right height that I was looking for, without being too much, especially once we add a roof on it. So now that I've extended that tower, I think obviously the first step would be making the battlements. Now the question is, do I want to deal with the same very square version, or do I want to try to flare it out a little bit, make a circular tower? Well, at least a circular top to the tower. I think that is what I'm going to do. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take some work to get the shaping right on that to make that blend really well with the tower itself. But I do think something a bit rounder is the way to go. Not this broad top square. So to do that, obviously to create these battlements, we're going to do a very similar method to what we did in the ones. It's just that this time we're adding stairs on the corners as well. And then with the walls in place, then we can go in with the slabs. Now, for this, we're going to slab up the ones on either side of our little matriculations, but we're not, I think, going to slab these at this time. Now, because this is very diagonal line, and I kind of want to add a little bit more of a curve, throw a wall in these corners here. And then we're going to grab ourselves some logs, and I'm going to build up these columns right here. Now with our slabs here, we're going to kind of make this the same circle, but as a roof. Now let's go 1 block higher on these, so 4 blocks in total. All right. So now that we've got that circle on the outside, I think very clearly the next step needs to be starting to. You know what? Let's actually bring up the logs just a little bit more. So we're going to start filling in these next levels. And I think the so I'm just going to fill all four sides with these U shapes, and I'm leaving the logs sticking up because I think that having these exposed logs, which for now I'm going to stick slabs on, I may change that later. Actually, I might do like stone brick slabs on top instead. Like that. Which obviously right now looks a little awkward, but if we get a bit more height to this roof, it might look good. I may decide to completely remove that though. We'll see. I think let's raise this center block here. And then let's replace these back walls with stairs. No, other way around. Let's put stairs here. And then, yeah, that's better. And then maybe just like that. Yeah, I like that shape better. Let's do that. So, I have to raise this. I drop this back into stairs. And I'm going to raise that up. So yeah, already that's quite a bit better. And then I think the next step would be filling in these. I'm going to keep the stairs going up on the center line on each of these sides. All right. Now let's fill these corners in. And I think for this, I do want to make them full blocks. If I could, I would make them like corner stairs. I feel like that would be pretty great. But I would need like a debug stick to do that. Now, what does it look like if those are slabs? Yeah, okay, those are better as slabs. Definitely. So I think I don't actually really like these extended columns, but I do like the idea of maybe throwing. Nah, it stands out too much. Let's just make it solid wood. What I will do is I will throw a couple of logs right there. Okay, and so now I think I'm going to use this. Okay, so that is. So I found this palisade block that is basically like the same thickness as a wall, um, but made of wood. So I think I'm going to do that for a little spire there, and then maybe stick these vertical slabs here. See, I feel like that's too thick. I could go trap doors, maybe. Yeah, see, I think trapdoors in this case do a very good job at like thinning it in just a little bit. Now, what I could do is take this palisade thing. I could put those in these corners, which look a little wonky right now, I'll grant you. But if we throw in slabs underneath that so that it connects in, I think that it'll give an element of extra roundness to the build. I think will work quite nicely. Yeah, that's not bad. I also might try just to add like a little extra. Well, honestly, no, I kind of like the shape. The one thing I might do is add trapdoors in these like corners here. Actually, yeah. In terms of like a more conical roof, this is one of my favorites I've built. I think it turned out pretty nice. Might add just another layer to that, and maybe I'll put a flag on there or something in the final build. But already, just having that makes this whole thing feel a lot more balanced. I think it really works. So now comes the final and most important, honestly, step of this entire process. The thing that's going to bring the whole project together, and that is the texturing and the detail work, right? So while I do plan on doing interiors for these builds at a later date, like I said, probably during the Let's Play series. So if you want to see what the inside's going to look like, check that out, I guess. But in the meantime, Okay, so if the doorway is going to be right here, then having arrow loops here and here would make sense. So yes, the next step is I'm going to add arrow loops, and I'm going to do that with my new favorite feature of my favorite feature of this mod pack thus far, vertical slabs. So I figure if I just throw arrow loops there, now I can fit through those, again, probably because I'm a little goblin guy. So the question is, how do we adjust that accordingly? Okay, so after playing around with it for a little bit, I think I've come up with this design, which looks maybe a little odd, but it does work. I wanted to use vertical slabs here instead, but apparently those do connect to cobblestone walls. But this way, it creates a gap where I can walk up and I don't fit through that gap. I still have a nice angle to shoot out. The stairs at the bottom instead of the full blocks gives me just a slightly shallower angle, so I can go a little bit steeper, I guess, not shallower. But yes, I can shoot a bit lower with a bow. So yes, I think that that's probably the design I'm going to stick with. And to make it, it's actually very simple. You just throw some walls on either side of some stairs, and then, like I said, just to give a better shooting angle, you switch that out. Now, up here, this now looks a little awkward. I think the best way to fix it would be to swap that out for stairs as well. I think, yes, that creates, it softens that real harsh line there. I think it really mellows out the whole thing. So, and you can see it looks, I mean, one might argue it almost looks a little bit too busy now, but one thing you definitely couldn't say is that that's a flat, boring wall. And it's practical too, because it does provide some defensive qualities that I can shoot out through those arrow loops. So I'm going to repeat that on the other tower, and then I'm probably going to add that up there as well. And then we'll see from there. All right. And so after repeating all of that pattern on all the outside faces of these towers, and then I did it on all four sides of the top here, although you can see it's like a slightly shorter version, and I actually think this works really well in the too high section of the tower. Although it looks like I did forget to swap out those for stairs right there. All right. So now that I've done that, I gotta say, this really does feel like a cohesive build now. We still have some flat sections of walls. And for that, I'm probably going to do something a little bit simpler. Which is I'm going to take some spruce fences and I'm just going to, on the second level, I'm just going to add windows. They're not super defensive or anything. The reason I'm using windows, or the reason I'm using fences for windows, as many of you might know, well, for one thing, it's just easier to get in large quantities because we're surrounded by wood and we don't really have a good source of sand nearby at the moment. But also, glass in the medieval period for windows would be an excess. Like, it existed, but it certainly would have been more of a luxury. All right, so now that we got those windows in, and like I said, it's a simple change, but just something to break up that wall. And then I'm actually kind of all right leaving this as is. I may, you know what, I may run like a too high layer of slabs, just like along the outside of the wall. All right. Created a bit of depth there and really broke up the last of those flat walls. The only thing left, I think, that needs any kind of texturing is this tower. But, of course, this tower, we can't just put in stuff from the outside, because what makes that a little different is the fact that through most of that tower, there runs a spiral staircase. All right. Okay, so we have to accommodate for the fact that this holds a spiral staircase. And as such, I can throw in some windows there and there. I can't really use those wall sections defensively. Same right there. Can't really use them defensively because you can't really stand there. I mean, this one, maybe I could have added an arrow loop, but not really with the ladder that I have to use there. So, how do we accommodate? Well, like I said, windows on that level, but on this level, well, that's behind the little tile roof we have outside, so I probably don't need anything there. This one, I could throw something in there, and then this one is blocked by the stairs. So for this level, I actually don't think I'm going to add any kind of window or arrow loop. So because of the spiral staircase making this particular section tricky, what I'm going to do instead is probably leave it as is. One little flat section doesn't really detract too much from the build as a whole. The only thing I might do is could add just a little divot in the center, like the suggestion of a window, when I couldn't feasibly fit one in there. But obviously I only have to do these two walls because, like I said, this one runs into this roof, and the other wall opens up into that second floor. And with that last little bit, we are done. This is the finalized design for what I want my survival fort to look like. We went from a crumbling ruin like this right here into this small but still mighty fortified keep. I think this will serve us very well. I hope Maddie likes it too, because, it will be our base, and yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little insight into my creative process, and also I hope you guys enjoy my new mic settings, because I know the audio was not the best in my first couple of videos, and it's getting better. Still working out some things, but absolutely. If you made it this far into the video, please, leave a like, leave a comment for any suggestions. I like doing build and design videos, so if you have any ideas for any of those you want to see, by all means, leave them. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your day.